Hello, everyone. This is another spotlight on a volunteer. Again, I will start with an introduction of myself. I'm sure most of you know me by now, but nevertheless, it's always good to start off by saying one's name. So I'm Eric Molendyk, the coordinator of the Vancouver chapter and for the Tetra Society as a whole. And today I'm interviewing David Spears, who is one of our very active members of our Vancouver chapter. Hello, David.
Hi, Eric. How are you?
Good, thanks. And I just want everybody to know, like most of our volunteers, David is a very active individual. So I appreciate the fact that I have him on a couch here on a sunny afternoon is a miracle in itself. So, David, we won't take up much of your time, but every volunteer has a unique story, and yours is much the same. So I'll start off by asking kind of your technical background.
Sure. I went through mechanical engineering at UBC, and when I graduated, became a drilling engineer. There were no jobs in Vancouver at the time, and went to the oil patch with several of my friends and their wives, and we had a little camaraderie there for about 5 years. But of course, I missed the West Coast, and I came back and became a tribologist, which looks at friction wear, failure analysis. So I've seen mechanical equipment in just about every plant and mobile equipment, construction, logging, mining, et cetera, et cetera. So I've got a chance to see everything that ticks and every component of everything that ticks. So it's been a great background.
And while you were at UBC, some of the people watching this feature might know of the name Jay Drew.
Mm-hmm.
And Jay has been a Tetra volunteer since the early 90s. And once you meet Jay, much like yourself, you never forget him. And you and Jay actually met up long before Tetra.
We did indeed. There was a little clique of 4 of us in mechanical engineering, Jay and 2 others, who combined to do projects in either a group of 4 or pair off. I did a few specifically with Jay, and so he's been hounding me for years to join the group, and I've been a very active member in Rotary for since the early 2000s. And Jay, he had fundraisers at his birthday parties. Instead of bringing him a gift, he'd ask for donations to Tetra. And then I saw some of his more prestigious projects, like the hockey puck for the blind and his zipper truck in the P-Eng magazine that comes monthly. So I got to see a little taste of what Tetra projects were all about. And finally, when I felt in Rotary that we weren't really fulfilling my interests, we were fundraising with projects and then passing the funds to another charity. So we really didn't get that warm, feely, touchy sensation from working specifically with the end user. And that's when I migrated to Tetra. And of course, that's all we do is work with the end user, and the rewards have been significant.
Well, I know it's appreciated by the clients as well. And of course, the ironic thing is, Jay spent all that time recruiting you to Tetra, and then his business took off. So since you've joined, I think you and him, you've been a volunteer for what, 4 years now?
4? Yeah, pushing 5. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say pushing 5, and I think you and Jay might have been at like 5 meetings together because he's been so busy with his business. So
exactly.
But you have been a great addition to Tetra, and I think about some of the devices that you've done. You've done automated. It's a sunny day here, and one of the devices you've done is automated blinds to help somebody bring sunshine into their home.
Yes.
So talk about how you came up with that solution. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think one part of that project you actually got help from another client on. Is that
exactly
correct?
I did. One of the clients that I did a project for lives in a high rise on the 15th floor, and he was cooking there all the time. And even with the window open when it's 30 degrees out doesn't help much. So we built a little glass window that accommodated his 2 fans to exhaust out, as well as the air conditioner. But he was an avid electronics guy, both in his business and in retirement as a hobby. So he happened to have a device that he had used in the past and didn't need it anymore, that did tilt blinds. And when I came across the project you gave me or presented us, I thought, I know exactly who I can call on to help me out. So this poor fellow that ended up using them, Chris, as you know, hadn't had his blinds open in a year and a half because the cord and the wand was behind his furniture and he couldn't reach them. So when he finally got them automated, he was ecstatic.
And
Yes.
that's what Tetra was always meant to be. That's the same thing that happened to Sam in the very beginning, is the little things that people take for granted until you can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and as I mentioned, you are also a very active guy. And another client that comes to mind is a lady named Tetra, and she's an amazing person. Despite having no movable fingers on her hands, she's an avid kayaker, and you've kind of helped her be able to get out in a kayak and enjoy some of the same activities that you do.
Amazing woman, very inspiring. At 70 years old, she's hiking, biking, kayaking, cross-country skiing, and she had bacterial meningitis, which forced the amputation of all of her fingers, half of her thumb, and about a third of her feet. So in spite of that, she still carries on, and she needed to be able to attach her hands to kayak paddles. And we developed and modified a device that previous Tetra engineer put together and made it such that she could grab the paddles, but also release quickly if necessary. And she went out last year 60 times at Deep Cove, 2 of them with me. So I try and get a couple of paddles in with her. And she's worn out 2 sets of gloves and 1 set of the plastic holder that snaps onto the paddle. So to wear a PVC piece of plastic out, you've got to rub that a few 100 times. So I was impressed the use she's getting out of it.
Yeah, well, our volunteers always hope that the client uses the device, and she has done that in spades. And as you said, definitely an inspiration to others. And while at the paddling center, if any of our BC Moss clients are watching, you also put a number of hours to make it easier for the paddling staff to get kayaks in and out of the water. That was a long labor of love, and you currently are working on a transfer bench that we can hopefully use in the upcoming season.
Well, Sam Sullivan's vision of the paddling center was to accommodate all levels of disability, and we can certainly do that. Typically, though, we hoist everybody into a kayak, a double kayak in the front of the kayak, but we felt it would be empowering for paraplegics to be able to lift themselves into the kayak. So we are working and have constructed a device, a bench that allows them to transfer over beside the kayak and then utilizing a bar to lift themselves into the kayak. However, with the circumstances we have right now, we've been unable to test it and get in close proximity to any clients, but that'll be coming soon. And hopefully we can have this paddling center open for May. In terms of the launching of the boat, the poor students who we hired to take the clients out and bring them back in had to hoist the kayak with the client in the front onto what used to be a boat trailer with carpeted bunks. And when I first went to see the project last September, or a year ago September, these girls would do 1, 2, 3, and they get the boat about a foot, and they had 17 feet to haul this thing up. So I had the winter basically to design a trailer with rollers that allowed one person to pull about 40 pounds and get the trailer up, the kayak up the trailer, and then the trailer up the ramp, and all's good. So I've watched them do that many times.
Well, I'll be the first to admit I am not the smallest guy in the world. So if you imagine somebody like me in the kayak, and yeah, it would take two people. And then when you did the device to be able to watch one staff member be able to rig it by hand and safely push the person, that was a great accomplishment. And you definitely got kudos not only from the clients using the kayak, but from the staff as well.
Yes.
And then the other thing is about you, David, is you like exchange of ideas, and you are definitely super encouraging of young engineers, kind of the next generation, so much so that you've served on a judging panel of engineering projects, the IDEA conference on multiple occasions, and you currently have also supported and helped out this year's engineering students that took on a project to try and make our paddleboard easier to use. And I always have appreciated and just talk about your connection, I guess, with younger volunteers and new engineers, and kind of working with them.
I think a lot of it stems back to my community involvement in coaching. I coached my kids in 3 different sports: our daughter in fastball, and our son in baseball and soccer. So, and at work, I've always had that mentoring ability to take on young engineers and bring them up to speed, and hopefully have a good career. So that part of it kind of draws me to students, and thoroughly enjoyed working with this last group of UBC engineers out on the water with their towing of the paddleboard, measuring friction, and dragging them around in a little boat. And yeah, they had a wonderful time. And unfortunately, the virus has curtailed the final strokes on the project, but we're going to be able to take it over with their copious notes and diagrams and their construction to date, and finish it off and make it functional for our paddleboarding clients.
And yeah, thank you for your passion for that. We did get the final report. So to our clients and members out there, with David's passion and the passion of our fellow volunteers, things to look forward to coming out of Tetra. Well, Dave, I don't want to take up any more of your time, but thanks so much for doing this. And on behalf of the clients that you work with, and the ideas that you come up with, thank you so much.
Eric, pleasure, and thanks for the support.
Okay, well, everybody stay tuned to connect together for more content. And as always, stay safe. Thanks again, Dave, and have a good rest of your afternoon.
Thank you. Be well. Bye-bye.